You're not depressed. You're exhausted from pretending the game matters. You wake up and the first thing you feel is weight. Not sadness. Not anxiety. Just the crushing awareness that you have to do this again. Another day of conversations that mean nothing. Another day of smiling when you feel empty. Another day of existing in a world that demands your participation in rituals you stopped believing in years ago. You've tried sleeping more. Doesn't work. You've tried taking breaks. Doesn't work. You've tried everything they recommend: exercise, gratitude, therapy, meditation. Nothing touches this kind of tired. Because you're not tired of working. You're not tired of people. You're tired of the act of being. And here's what nobody tells you: this isn't something you can fix by resting. This is something deeper. Something older. You know this already. Schopenhauer had a word for what's driving everyone around you: the will to live. This blind, irrational force that pushes all living things to keep existing, reproducing, struggling. Most people never question it. They just obey. But you woke up. And once you see the machinery, you can't unsee it. You watch people chase promotions that won't fulfill them. Build families to avoid facing themselves. Distract themselves with entertainment, consumption, status games. Everyone is running on autopilot. Biological programs. Social scripts. But your autopilot broke. And now you're standing there, fully conscious, watching everyone else sleepwalk through their lives, wondering why you should pretend to sleep too. You're not sick. You're awake in a world that requires sleep. Let me tell you what your days actually look like. You perform. Every conversation is a script you've memorized. Every smile costs something. You know exactly what to say to make people think you're fine. But inside, you're watching yourself from a distance. Time does this strange thing. You're sitting in your car after work, engine off, just staring. Not sad. Not anything. Just sitting there because going inside means performing again. Or you're lying in bed with your phone, scrolling through nothing, because sleep means waking up to another day of this. Days feel endless. Months disappear. You send texts that say "I'm good" when you're completely numb. And the worst part? You're not even suffering dramatically. There's no crisis. No tragedy. Just this quiet, persistent awareness that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. People think you're fine because you're functional. You show up. You do what needs doing. But functionality isn't vitality. A machine can function while being completely dead inside. Here's what nobody tells you: what you're experiencing has a name. The Greeks called it aesthesia, the dark exhaustion of the soul. It's what happens when you see too much, too clearly, too soon. You see that most relationships are transactions. That most conversations are just noise to fill the void. That most people are terrified of silence because silence forces them to face what you face every day: the absolute weight of consciousness. Jung talked about people like you. He said some people are born with thinner veils. They see the shadows everyone else is avoiding. They feel the collective anxiety everyone else is numbing. You're one of them. And here's the brutal part: nobody can save you from this. No therapist can think for you. No medication can make existence meaningful. No relationship can fill the void you've discovered. Because the void isn't a problem to be solved. It's the ground truth you've finally seen. Most people spend their entire lives running from this realization. Work, relationships, goals, entertainment, substances. Anything to avoid the silence where this truth lives. You stopped running. Or maybe you got too tired to keep running. And now you're standing in the silence, and it's deafening. Be honest, you've felt this for years. Listen, Nietzsche called this the abyss. He said when you stare into it long enough, it stares back into you. When you destroy your organizing myths, when you kill the stories that made life bearable, you don't automatically become free. First, you fall. You experience what he called the death of meaning. The ground drops out. Everything you thought mattered suddenly doesn't. And most people never leave that abyss. They numb themselves. They pretend. They rebuild smaller, safer myths to live inside. But some people, they sit in the abyss long enough to see what's on the other side. Here's what you're actually experiencing. You're in between myths. The old stories died. The new ones haven't been born yet. You're in the void between worlds. And the void is exhausting because it offers nothing to hold on to. No script. No guarantee. No map. You didn't lose energy. You lost belief. And now you're existing without the structure that makes existence bearable for everyone else. Let's talk about what you haven't said out loud. You're not suicidal. You don't want to die. But if someone asked you if you wanted to exist tomorrow, you'd have to think about it. You're neutral about existence. And that neutrality terrifies you more than depression ever did. Because depression at least feels like something. This feels like nothing. You look at people who are genuinely excited about life and you feel confusion, like you're a different species pretending to be human. You've started noticing something darker. You resent people who are happy, not because you want to hurt them, but because their happiness exposes how far you've drifted from anything resembling vitality. Here's the part you won't like. You're not tired of existing. You're tired of existing as yourself. The self you've built, the identity you've maintained, the role you've played, it doesn't fit anymore. But you don't know what comes next. Jung called this ego death. The old self has to die for the new self to be born. But the dying is agony. You're a snake trying to shed skin that won't come off. A butterfly dissolving in a cocoon with no guarantee of what emerges. The exhaustion isn't weakness. It's the exhaustion of a psyche that's outgrown its container but hasn't found a new one yet. You're between forms. And formlessness is terrifying. Think about it. You didn't get weaker. You didn't break down. You saw something real. And your nervous system is responding to reality, not fantasy. The fact that you feel this way means something in you is still alive enough to notice. Most people are numb and don't even know it. You're exhausted because you're awake. That's not nothing. Machiavelli understood something most philosophers missed. He said humans aren't driven by truth or meaning. They're driven by necessity. We create meaning the way spiders create webs. Not because it's true, because we need it to survive. Your exhaustion. It's the exhaustion of a mind that can't manufacture meaning anymore. The machinery broke down. The lies stopped working. And society doesn't know what to do with you because society is built on those lies. Work hard and you'll be rewarded. Love conquers all. Everything happens for a reason. You see through every single one. Here's what changes everything. You've been trying to find meaning when you should have been creating bearing capacity. Let me explain. Meaning is overrated. Meaning is what they sell you when the product is existence itself. Find your why. Discover your purpose. It's all marketing copy for the human condition. But bearing capacity? That's different. Bearing capacity is your ability to hold the weight of existence without needing it to mean something. To endure consciousness without requiring a narrative that makes it make sense. This is what the Stoics practiced. Not happiness. Not fulfillment. The capacity to bear whatever comes without breaking. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome. He spent his private journals reminding himself that life is suffering. People will betray you. Your body will decay. Nothing lasts. Was he depressed? No. He was building bearing capacity. You need to stop trying to make life worth living and start building your capacity to live it anyway. Here's the truth that actually matters. This sounds bleak. It's not. It's the only honest foundation. You're exhausted because you're maintaining a fiction. That you're okay. That you care about things you don't care about. Drop it. Not publicly, but internally. Stop trying to care. Stop trying to feel things you don't feel. Let yourself be empty without apologizing for it. The performance is what's killing you. You're trying to be too much. Social, successful, purposeful, growing, optimized. What if you just existed? Took up space without justifying it? This isn't depression. This is conservation of energy. You're in a survival phase. Treat it like one. Everything in modern life is designed to be comfortable, smooth, frictionless. You're exhausted because there's no genuine resistance. Nothing that forces you to be present. Find something that hurts in a clean way. Cold water on your face in the morning. Physical exhaustion. Uncomfortable truths in books that don't offer comfort. Your nervous system needs proof that you're alive. Comfort can't provide that. Only genuine sensation can. It's not emptiness. It's emotional frostbite. And you need heat, not more numbness. You're dissociated from existence. Floating above your life watching it happen. You need anchors. Not big meaningful practices. Tiny rituals that bring you back into your body. Coffee you actually taste. Morning cold exposure. Evening walks where you notice 3 specific things. These aren't about meaning. They're about presence. You're training your consciousness to inhabit your life again, even if just for minutes at a time. You will always see more than others. You will always feel the weight more acutely. You will never go back to the comfortable sleep most people live in. This isn't special. It's not a gift. But it's also not a curse. Stop trying to be like people who find life easy. You won't. Accept that you're playing a different game with different rules. Not in some community of depressives. But find the people who see what you see and aren't trying to fix it. Who can sit in the darkness without offering solutions. They're rare, but they exist. And one real conversation with someone who understands is worth 100 therapy sessions. You're not sick. You're clear-sighted in a world that demands delusion. Here's what you need to understand. You won't recover. Not in the way you think. You won't wake up one day and feel the way you did before you saw through everything. That innocence is gone. The veil won't close. But here's what actually happens. You build a different relationship with existence. Not based on meaning or purpose or happiness. Based on bearing capacity. On showing up anyway. On existing without needing it to feel good. There's a strange power in this. When you stop needing life to be worth living, you become unfuckable with. You're not afraid anymore because you've already accepted the worst truth. That existence is difficult and might never stop being difficult. And in that acceptance, you find something weird. Not happiness. Not fulfillment. But a kind of dark peace. The peace of someone who stopped fighting reality. Camus told us to imagine Sisyphus happy, rolling his boulder up the mountain for eternity, knowing it will roll back down, doing it anyway. Not because it means something, because that's what Sisyphus does. You're Sisyphus. You're exhausted because you've been trying to make the boulder lighter, or the mountain shorter, or the task meaningful. Stop. The boulder is heavy. The mountain is high. The task is absurd. Do it anyway. Not because you want to, because you're doing it anyway, so you might as well stop suffering about the fact that you're suffering. This is the only real freedom available to conscious beings. The freedom to stop requiring existence to be different than it is. You wanted to know why you're so tired. Now you know. You're tired because you woke up in a world that requires sleep. You're carrying consciousness in a universe that isn't designed for it. This won't get easier, but you'll get stronger. Not stronger like motivational speeches promise. Stronger like steel that's been in the fire. Stronger like bones that broke and healed denser. You won't learn to love life. You'll learn to bear it without breaking. And there's a savage dignity in that. Most people will never understand this. They'll think you're depressed, negative, lost. Let them think it. Their understanding isn't required. You don't talk about this part anyway. You're one of the ones who woke up. You can't go back to sleep. So you walk forward into a world that offers no guarantees, no meaning, no point. You walk because walking is what living things do. Not because it leads anywhere. Because you're still here. And you might as well see what happens next. The exhaustion doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're done pretending. And what comes after pretending? Everything real. You're not tired of existing. You're tired of existing inauthentically. The exhaustion is your soul telling you the performance is over. Now comes the part where you find out who you actually are underneath all that weight. That's not a journey toward happiness. That's a journey toward truth. And truth doesn't care if you're ready.